He's a parched, mate. He's a massive parched.
Wallop.
Honestly, if you played with him at some point in your career, I'd be saying it's definitely him who's parched, because he is just Mr. Professional. Don't do anything other than just what needs to be done. Completely professional. Oh, he's ridiculous.
That surprises me. Well, then I guess the next obvious is probably Cathcart. But I mean, seemingly I'm getting
Tom Cleverly, there's possibly a clue in the name.
Yeah, Cleverly. To be fair, Tom's a very clever lad. You know, even Danny Welbeck. Danny Welbeck's a very clever lad. I think you wouldn't have thought it just by looking at them. So I was at United with them when they were kids, and they were right little rat bags. You know what I mean? Little chavs kind of thing. Like some pictures of Tom Cleverly, proper skinhead haircut, and he looks horrible. But yeah, he's a clever lad, mate. Real clever.
What kind of questions are we talking here?
Do you want me to read a few? I'll just read a couple because I've got them in my notes anyway.
Me, Chris and Tom will have a go. I'm pretty sure I know who the winner is here.
Who was Michael Jackson's monkey called?
Tom. Chris. Just shouted it before that.
That's ruthless.
Sorry.
At the roundabout,
who plays the voice of
take
Shrek?
the second exit.
Chris. Oh,
I've got it.
Too soon.
Oh no, I've got
Peter,
it.
Exit
I was Crouchy.
now.
Tom
Murphy.
Crouchy.
Crouchy, go on, Crouchy.
Mike Myers.
Yeah, so
Did you definitely get in there first, Crouch?
So this is a calibre of question you're asking me. It's talking like run-of-the-mill sort of lip testers kind of thing.
Do you think, in terms of intellect,
Finding a new free
strikers,
computer.
defenders over midfielders? What generally speaking would you say is the most intellectual?
He loves
position?
stirring the pot, doesn't he? Look.
Yeah,
Him sitting back.
Yeah.
He just said that, and then he sat back with his little craft lager and let the fireworks commence.
Some of the strikers you come across in football, Jesus, they are honestly like loose cannons. Doesn't even describe it. They are you just don't know what you're going to get from them. Like emotionally, they're rubbish. Like they don't know how to deal with emotions. That's why they're going crazy one minute and then they're like crying the next minute, and then it just sort of works backwards, and you just get a little bit steadier as you work back through the team, through midfield, through defence, and then you end up with a goalie who. Do you know what I mean? Crouchy, I guarantee you, there's not been many goalies you'll have come across who are sort of idiots or bonkers. Do you know what I mean?
When you say more intellectual, I think I would go with that. Sometimes are quite comfortable in their own skin.
Left.
Will be quite comfortable to be on their own, whereas strikers need to be loved. They need to be, you know, they want to be in the mix around all the lads, whereas a goalkeeper can take himself off, be happy in his own environment.
Striker is the lead singer,
Take
it
the
would appear from the outside, and the goalkeeper is the drummer.
That guy at the front, he needs everything. He needs all the love. He needs everyone singing his name, hugging him. You're the man. You're the man. That's what strikers are.
I think if I was on a plane that was going down, right, and they put out the announcement, they said, right, we need someone to land this plane, I would trust the goalkeeper.
Just calm.
Go straight on and then turn left.
That though, like the striker would love to take the glory of landing it.
Yes.
Turn left.
Afterwards, they'll be on fire. They will be loving it, lapping
Go
it up.
straight
They'll be on Twitter, Instagram within seconds. There'll be TikTok videos. They'll be on flames. They will.
The keeper lands it, and then the striker just pushes him out of the way and grabs the joystick as it's taxing along the runway.
It's massive getting you on the podcast. Ben, you know I've been singing your praises for a while. I say that you're the Premier League's best goalkeeper, and I stand by that. And I mean, honestly, I mean that sincerely.
Get ready to turn
Would you
right.
agree with me, or would you question my decision there?
Turn right.
Mate, it's you and my mum. You're the only ones that ever say that to me, you know. You and my mum. Like, my biggest fans, I love it. It makes me feel nice, at least, anyway, Starkey. It's complete rubbish. There's no way you
have
can put
arrived
me in that
at your
bracket, but I do
destination.
appreciate it, mate. It does
Your
make me
route
feel
guidance
nice.
is now finished.
No, I don't like to hear this, Ben. You need to back yourself, you know.
Mate, honestly, like football for me, like it's great, and I do enjoy it. I don't get me wrong, I do enjoy that Saturday afternoon. But I think when you get older, when you get sort of 35, 36, 37, like Crouch said, I'm just happy in my own skin now. So I'm just happy going about my job, doing it, and then once you have family and all that as well, it's more important than football. So, but no, keep going though, mate. I love that. It's nice, honestly. It's wicked.
So we've heard a few tales about how Crouchy started in football. How was it for you, Ben?
Yeah, like I say, it was a mad one. So, like, I left school at 16. I was a chef for 2 years, Café Rouge, Leamington Spa. Being a chef, as anybody, if anybody's a chef out there, they'll know. They'll tell you it's super long hours. Like, you're talking 50, 60, 70-hour weeks sometimes. It's ridiculous hours.
Are you an actual chef though? Like, can you do nice dishes now and stuff?
Yeah, I do everything, mate. To be fair, like I love cooking as well. But I think mainly because you get a bit of peace and quiet in the kitchen. Do you know what I mean? You've got the missus and kids sort of running riot and doing all that kind of stuff. When you're in the kitchen, like, you don't want people running around your feet and stuff, so you just have a little peace and quiet. sort of thing. But like even like the last few weeks, it was rolling with the weather, like, so I've just been out in the garden barbecuing every day. But you end up just having a beer every night, and you have 2 beers every night, and then for it, like it's hard work. It is when you're barbecuing every night.
Can we throw you a cooking question, Chef Foster? In your opinion, as a trained chef, should ketchup be kept in the fridge?
Ketchup has to be in the fridge. That's where it belongs. Once it's been opened, it's in the fridge.
You're not concerned about cold sauce on hot food?
Mate, I put ketchup on everything. I love ketchup, honestly. Like it doesn't. I don't care what it is. I'll have anything. I had this morning. I had a pack of prawns I had in the fridge. I put some Branston pickle on them. I don't care, honestly. It doesn't bother me.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
How does a man go from Cafe Rouge to Manchester United in England?
I was just playing for like a local non-league team they were called Racing Club Warwick. They were in Dr. Martin's league back in the day. One night we had like a game and there was a crash on the motorway. So a scout that worked for Stoke, he was driving home. He had to go some mad A roads to get home, sort of thing, to avoid the motorway. So anyway, he came, watched the game, and saw me playing, and that was it, mate. He scouted me, he signed me for Stoke.
But hang on, if there hadn't been that car crash, you wouldn't have been scouted that day.
I guarantee there's so many people that haven't made it in football or whatever it is, just because of those tiny little things. Like, it's class, isn't it? How good's that?
How long were you there?
Only sort of 3-4 years, really. I did my coachship in Benin 1 year, so I was out for a year, and then towards the end I was just going out on loan. So I just wanted to play games, though. You know, when you're 21, 22, you just want to play games. So I remember going out on loan to like friggin' Wrexham, and it was at Wrexham that it sort of kicked off from there.
Go straight
we had
on.
Darren Ferguson, obviously Alex Ferguson's son. I remember we played in the Audi V Vans final back then, and I remember seeing Alex Ferguson's face on the telly at the Millennium Stadium. I did well that game anyway, played well, and then anyway, it was a couple of weeks later, Darren Ferguson sort of, he grabbed me and he goes, my dad's keeping tabs on you now, so just keep going the way you're going. And Man United might want to buy it. And I was like, what? You can't tell me that now. Like, I was shitting myself. Like, I still had half a dozen games left to go. Like, imagine just dealing with that when you're like 21, 22 and you ain't done nothing in your career. But yeah, luckily it kind of all worked out. I did all right till the end of the season, and thankfully they came and bought me in the summer for about, it was about £1 million or something.
What are the first words that Roy Keane says to you when you arrive? We're a bit obsessed with Roy Keane.
He's a scary bloke, by the way. I mean, like, I was shit scared of him. He was proper scary. It's a reserve team game. Do you know what I mean? It's a pre-season friendly. It's a reserve team game, and he was playing centre mid as usual. I had the ball in my hands, and obviously we're Man United, so we're just sort of dominating, passing about. And he dropped in for the ball, so I could roll it out to him. I rolled it out to him too slow, apparently. Oh my God. He absolutely bollocked me. He bollocked me on the pitch, yeah? Like, stopped the ball and bollocked me, and then turned around and carried on running. And still, nobody would even bother trying to tackle him because it was Roy Keane. Mentally, like, nobody teaches you how to deal with that kind of thing. It was like chucking you in at the deep end, like the deepest deep end as well, and going the Sharks in there as well. Just deal with it though, and I couldn't deal with it. Like, thankfully, they were happy for me to go out on loan to Watford for 2 years, just to sort of, like, say, ply your trade basically, and just sort of learn how to play first team football and be around, sort of being in the first team.
You know, when you say you couldn't deal with it, like, were you worrying when you went home? Like, how were you feeling?
I had finished my 2 years on loan at Watford, and then I went back for the third season, and Edwin van der Sar was the first choice goalie, and he actually broke his hand in the summer, only a couple of weeks before the season was due to start, and he broke it really badly. He had to have a plate in it, so he was out for the best part of 3-4 months. I was second choice goalie at the time, so it was like, right, I'm going to be the next goalie. I was still playing with England, all that kind of stuff. So I got in the team, I started the season, did really well, but then I had a few shaky games, about 7 or 8 games in. The one game which did it for me was, do you remember the Man City derby, the Man City derby, where it was 4-3 to Man United?
Michael Owen won.
The Michael Owen one, yeah. I was all over the shop. And I remember, thankfully, Michael Owen scored in the last minute, and I was like, oh, thank God for that. But I remember coming in at full time, and Sir Alex Ferguson nailed me, and I mean, he nailed me absolutely. Like, we've just won the game, so everyone's buzzing, and he shut everybody up to nail me in front of everyone. And I was thinking, oh wow, I don't need that. Do you know what I mean? And
what did he say? Yeah, what were his words?
You pull this shit ever again, that's you fucking done. And thankfully he kept me in the team, and I carried on a few more decent games, did okay, and then I dropped another clanker. We were playing at home to Sunderland, and big Kenwyne Jones.
Oh, what a sprint.
What a sprint, so strong as well. He's an absolute tank, honestly. Bullied me to the ball, scored with the header, and I'm on the floor in a heap. Thankfully, again, Patrice Evra scores a last minute equaliser, so I'm kind of buzzing again, thinking, oh, thank God for that. But nah, Fergie got in a full time. gone at me for about 2 or 3 minutes. You're finished, you're out, you're in the reserves now, that's you done.
In the changing room?
Yeah. Like
he's saying that you're in front of... So who else is in the team at this point?
All the big boys are there, everybody's in the dressing room. I look back at that, I think that maybe that was harsh, but I think probably he could see that I wasn't ready. At that moment in time, I wasn't ready for Man United, do you know what I mean? It was just like, it was the wrong place at the wrong time for me, and I just couldn't deal with it, do you know what I mean? So as soon as that happened, and he said, that's you're out, you're in the resis and stuff, and he, like I say, you weren't lying, I was in the resis, mate, that was me done.
Have you ever seen Ronaldo getting bollocked, or some of the other lads getting bollocked there?
I'd never seen anybody get as bollocked as what I did. I think he saved the best for me, honestly. He saved the best for me. It was brutal, mate. I could honestly, that was me done. Like I knew for a fact I was never ever kicking a ball ever again after that happened. Nobody could ever drop their standards, ever. And that's what drove them to just be the best. And if it meant cutting the driftwood off along the way, then they did it. It was not a problem to them.
However much of a legend he is, that is a horrible experience to go through, and I would think that your confidence goes down. It sounds like a bit of an ordeal you went through. How did you rebuild?
It was, mate. It was horrible. It was an horrible thing. Do you know what I mean? If you shout at a grown man, it sort of kills your soul a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's rubbish kind of thing. You don't do that to people. But I think the bit for me that kind of did my head in a little bit was after the game, we went and got showered. Nobody said anything to me. Nobody came up and patted me on the back and said, like, never mind. The only person that ever said anything to me was in the showers was Scholesy. I'm all over the shop kind of thing. My head's gone. And Scholesy was the only one who just sort of basically went, Fozzie, don't worry about it, mate. He does it to everyone. If I saw somebody get a powder like that, I would at least go and go, mate, don't worry about it. He's like stressed because of this, or he's having a bad time. It's a shit result. He's getting powders in the media, that kind of stuff. Or just try and, do you know what I mean, say something like that about it, kind of thing, just to soften it a bit.
He picked you, Ben. That's the thing. He is the guy who signed you, and he's the one who picked you. So you are to blame specifically for those errors, but he needs to take responsibility in that situation for being the bloke who selected you.
For me, it killed me at the time, honestly. Don't get me wrong, it killed me. You said earlier about goalies kind of being comfortable in their own skin. I think that's something I've probably rediscovered. Well, not rediscovered, but discovered. But that's only from, I'm better equipped to deal with stuff because of what's happened to me. Do you know what I mean? Of the things that I've faced and the setbacks and all that kind of stuff. No matter what it is that happens to you, even if it's the worst of the worst, if it is Alex Ferguson telling you that you're done, you're shit, you're all this kind of stuff, you can learn a lesson from it.
Crouchy, I don't know how you feel about never having received the Fergie hairdryer treatment.
His hairdryer is famous, but there's a million youth team managers or reserve team managers or first team managers, and I've had bollockings that you would not believe from the age of 13 upwards, I'd say. My last manager, Sean Dyche, you know, I've seen him dish out things that you wouldn't believe, and I think there's no getting away from the fact that it's a tough industry, and I think if you haven't got the right mentality, then you're going to get walked all over it.
Did Fergie ever say to you, Ben, in future years, do you know what, you've done well?
We actually played against Man United in his final game, the 5-5 draw at West Brom. He looked at me, kind of smiled, and he said, nice to see, like, you're doing well, or you're doing something like that kind of thing.
And then you let 5 goals in.
Yeah, and then I was still shitting myself. Like, even when he walked past me, I was like nodding to him and stuff. Going, yeah, it's Alex Ferguson, oh my God.
So then you've ended up in Birmingham, Ben. You've only had one season there, but you played in a pretty remarkable match.
That was the season we won the League Cup against Arsenal. That was one of my best moments in football. That was great. But we had Carson Young. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah.
He only ever came into the stadiums a few times, like, and came in to see the lads. But his English was zero. He couldn't say a thing. Like, honestly, it was about 2 or 3 games before the end of the season, and we're in trouble. You know, we're facing relegation here, and they've gone, right, the owner wants to come in and just say a few words before the match. You know, sort of like, you know, a bit of a sort of morale boost. And eventually it went quiet. All these kind of guys came in with him, and he walks in, and he's a bit like Elvis. He's got these white silk, like, you know, like snooker referees. They wear those white gloves. Yeah, he's got a pair of these white gloves on, and the stuff he wears, he's got to be an Elvis fan anyway. He walks in, and they can see he's nervous, and it's all quiet. It's so weird, and he doesn't say anything, and everyone's thinking, what's going on? And eventually he just blurts out, win. And that's all he says.
That's
so he
it.
says win, and then he just stops and walks out. That was genuinely all he could say. That's all he could muster was win.
I mean, it's punchy. It's to the point, isn't it?
Yeah, no messing about.
It's
no
got his
beating
message
about the
across.
bush, yeah.
when I was at Portsmouth, like early days when I was 19, Milan Mandaric owned the club. I remember him coming down once, and we hadn't won for the month. He started his speech because he had this sort of, I think he's Croatian, wasn't he? But he had a sort of American twang or whatever it was. He came in, he said, "Now usually I don't do this, come down to the locker room," and everyone went, "What the fuck's a locker room?" And he carried on his speech basically saying that he was fuming, and then he said, "We're not paying you for this month." He said, "You haven't won a game, why should I pay you for the month?" Everyone was fuming, and I sort of looked around and went, "Well, yeah, it's fair enough." Like, I was single at the time. Like, I was getting far too much money than I needed anyway. But obviously, all the players that had families were fuming, and I was just going like, "We didn't win this month." And he went with it. We didn't get paid. We eventually, I think the manager was like, "You can't just not pay them if they've won." I thought it was fair play.
Well, I think that's a great philosophy, actually. I'll throw it open to you boys. What an interesting world it would be if you only got paid if you won.
We would have been paid at Watford for the first 6 months of the season, mate. Shut up, all right?
Crouch, he's done the robot again because it's 100 Premier League goals for Peter Crouch.
That Peter Crouch podcast
Keep
from
right.
BBC 5 Live.
We played together with England and stuff, obviously not for long, but you retired quite early. Are you happy with the decision you made?
Yeah, I am, mate. I am. At the time as well, it was Capello was the manager. Do you remember Capello?
Yes.
He was very different to most managers or even most people I've come across in my life. I just didn't feel like he ever showed me any respect whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? The big reason why was I just had my second boy. I was actually on international duty. My wife was pregnant up north in Manchester, so she rings me in the morning and says, "Ben, listen, I think my waters are broke. Like, don't just chill for a bit. We'll see," kind of thing. I was like, "Geez, I need to go now. I remember going to see the manager and going, "Fabio, listen, I think my wife's in labour. I think I need to go up north." And he was like, "Well, we've got training in half an hour. We've got training." And I was like, "Seriously?" So anyway, I managed to persuade him that I could get off, so he let me get off and whatever. But within 2 or 3 hours of my son being born, he was on the phone saying, I need you back down here. There's a game tomorrow." It was only, I think it was only a friendly as well. He said, "You'll play the second half," because I was only second choice goal at the time. It would be worth it. So I remember saying to my wife, "Listen, I know it's not ideal, but I think I'll play the second half, so probably do it." She was like, "Yeah, cool, go on and do it." Got there, didn't even come on for 1 minute. So so that goes beyond sort of football for me. That's just not on. Do you know what I mean? So
That's just pissing you about.
Yeah,
so why didn't you play the second half then?
At half time, I'm thinking, right, come on and get ready in a minute, sort of, mate, just psych yourself up a bit, kind of thing. Nothing, mate, not enough, nothing. So yeah, for me that was it, mate, game over. So I remember getting back to Birmingham where I was at the time, and I got the club to put a statement out basically saying that's me for a while, kind of thing. The kids have been born, I was missing being at home with them. But then eventually I did actually return for another few years under Roy Hodgson. I don't know if you played under Roy Crouchy, but
No, he bit me off quite early.
You two are like ships in the night. You sort of seem to be
He was an Andy Carroll man,
different
wasn't
managers, different.
Yeah, no, I didn't have much success under Roy.
I think if he'd give you a bit of time and you'd have got to know him as a bloke, he honestly is world-class bloke. So he obviously gave me a call when he got the England job and said, "Listen, would you be interested in coming back, even if you're not playing? If I was like third choice goalie, for example, at least I knew I was respected, and that meant a lot to me."
You had a very nice World Cup record as well, didn't you, Ben? You've literally never conceded a goal in a World Cup.
Brazil was a funny one, to be fair. Like, we were staying kind of on the Copacabana beach, and our training ground was about an hour away. It was probably only about 2 kilometres, but because the Copacabana traffic is so bad, it's absolute murder, honestly. So for us, we had to get in a coach in the morning. There was 2 armoured tanks in front of us, 2 armoured tanks behind us. We had a helicopter in the air, and then in the sea, going alongside us, there was a warship following us along.
What?
because possibly somebody might do something. It was mad, honestly. It was absolute carnage.
Sort of Grand Theft Auto, sort of 5 stars.
5 star. You pissed everybody off massively now that you're going to get it. Yeah.
Crouchy, going back to what you were saying about the question you were asking Ben around retirement, it sounds to me, Ben, that you were pissed off. What I'm interested in is how both of you tackled that issue of almost having to rule yourself out.
Now.
Is it to kind of put it all to one side and stop speculation?
My situation was, as soon as Capello left and Hodgson took over, Carroll came into into fitness, was playing quite well, and he just preferred Andy Carroll to me. So
Keep left
I was
and then
fuming.
turn
He had
left.
the decency to call me, it was 2012, was it? And to tell me that he was not going to pick
Turn
me.
left.
I wasn't too pleased with it. Probably said things that I regret a little bit. And then that was the end of me, really.
Keep
Which
right
is fair enough, you know, I
and
accept
then
that.
keep left.
But I never retired, so...
Did you put a statement out, Crouchy?
No.
Did you ever say it?
No, not at all.
No,
No,
you
I was hoping that I would get a call up at some stage. I was banging goals in my first season at Stoke, and just before the Euros, I was flying.
That's the season you scored that over a kick when it passed. Passed that.
Like one of the best goals I ever scored. Like, it was like just on. I was thinking, I'm bang shooting for the Euros, and then obviously dropped the bombshell on me, and I felt like I was playing really well, and then obviously I was told I wasn't in, and I was so gutted, but it was raw, and I probably said things that I regret, and it was my fault, and then that was me then, which understandably so. But yeah, really frustrating because I didn't retire, just I was retired.
About the four of us, who's eligible to play for England still? I'm happy to rule myself out.
I'm available.
I certainly wouldn't rule myself out. I mean, listen, there'd have to be probably 2.5 million people who would be injured.
Yeah, but you're eligible.
I'm technically
Crouchy.
eligible.
Keep left
So you're telling me
and then turn right.
No, I'm not
Turn
eligible.
right.
Sod that for a game, mate. I've got no interest whatsoever. Bloody hell. Absolutely no chance. International breaks, holidays, mate. We get to go away. Like, we'll go away for 3, 4, 5 days, sort of thing. Perfect recharge. It was the best thing I ever did was retiring, because it prolonged my playing career for God knows how long. So hopefully I'll be able to play for another 2, 3 years. Yeah.
Keep
What's
left
your holiday,
and
Ben?
then
Is
turn
it,
left.
I imagine you sort of centre parks every time, up the climbing wall, bit of shooting, that kind of thing, archery, activities.
Cycling, mate. So take the kids cycling to
Turn
France,
left.
or do some outdoors or something like that.
Oh, amazing.
No, I'm joking. I don't do that. We go on holiday. No chance.
Tom thought you could go and pack your lycras in your carry-on case and go on a little trip to Mallorca or something. Do you have the silly little cleats?
Oh, mate, I've got all of it. I've got everything, Crouchy. I am like full kit wanker, mate. Honestly, like it's ridiculous. When I'm in the gear and I'm like about to go on the bike, I look in the mirror, I think, you look decent today.
Go
Bobby.
straight on.
You look proper nice.
Oh, that's mad, because I can't even imagine how I'd look in it.
Tony Pulis must have been all over you. You must have done the hills pre-season on the bike. Were you cruising that pre-season then?
I don't care who you are, you can't cruise the Tony Pulis pre-season, mate. It's honestly, there was a few people I know who played for Palace and they were like, Fozzie, what's pre-season? I was like, lads, oh my God. And I'm trying to tell them, what it's like, and they're not having it. They're going, no chance. There's no way they're giving you wake-up calls at 5:30 and then you're out on the hills at 6 in the morning. No chance. Mate, you wait. Honestly, it was brutal, wasn't it?
Oh, brutal. Like, you find the steepest hill in
Go
the middle of
straight
Austria,
on.
and you're up there and you're looking at your watch, you haven't had breakfast, you just rolled out of bed, 6 a.m, unbelievable. You ride all the way back down, then you're back up it, and it's constant loop, and then you get back, you have breakfast, and then you're playing football at like 10, 11, and then
Get ready
4:30
to
you're back
turn
out
right.
again doing some sort of activity.
Like, one of his famous things, like, if somebody had an injury, yeah, he would say, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. What?
Turn
So
right.
I've done my cruise shit, and he'd come in and he'd go, what they saying? 6 months, innit? You cruise shit, and he went, you do that in 3. You do that in 3. I'm like, I don't know, I'll see. I'll give it a go.
Do you know what though? I found him to be one of the best managers. I absolutely loved him. I think he's one of those, if you're on his side
Reroute.
and you're with him and you buy into what he's doing, he absolutely loves you for it, and he was just brilliant with me. And I remember seeing him after games with Ab and stuff, and he'd give us a bottle of wine, and he'd always ask how the family were, and obviously had his ways, but he was incredibly successful in what he did.
It's like he's got 2 different characters, hasn't he? He's got the football guy, and he's got to be like he is at football. He's got to be ruthless. He's got to be shouty, and it's his way, and that's it. But like you say, he's got a guy away from that who's honestly, like Crouch said, top class guy. Honestly, what a wicked bloke, seriously. And he'll happily put his arm around you and go, you ain't playing, mate, you've been shit. And that's all it is, honestly. He doesn't care, but he'll tell you it's black or white and it's wicked.
So how does it work at half time? Because with someone like him, I imagine if he's pissed off, right?
I've got a wicked Tony Pulis story for you. It was the last game of the season, yeah. So I've got a notepad here. Look at this for preparation, lads. This is top class. This is what we're dealing with here, by the way.
He's on the wrong
Just
podcast.
Look at this, yeah.
What is that notepad?
So let me show you. Yeah? We're playing away at Swansea, right? they were a good team. They used to pop it. They were, you know what I mean? They were really slick team kind of thing. So anyway, last game of the season, it's baking hot, right? We're winning 1-0 at half-time. We're winning. We're playing so nice as well. Yeah, we ain't even playing Tony Pulis football. It's lovely football, right? We get in at half-time, 1-0 up, and he goes, lads, what the fuck are you doing? What is that shit? He goes up to the board, yeah, and scribbles out the middle of the pitch like that, yeah? Scribbles it out, yeah? He says, you see that? Fuck that Barca shit. He says, get it in there. And he was pointing at the 18-yard box. Get it in there and get round it. And then we went and lost a game 2-1. Incredible, honestly, it was incredible.
So what was Pulis like at full time?
After that Swansea game, right, Craig Dawson, he was a centre-back, and Swansea had Llorente. He absolutely bullied Dawes for 2 of the goals, right? And he has mullered Dawson, yeah. But don't get me wrong, this is the last game of the season, yeah? So I've got my cycling holiday booked tomorrow. So he's killing Craig Dawson. What are you doing? And I'm sitting next to Dawes, right? And I'm thinking, I'm going to say something in a minute here, because this is out of order. Like, it's the last game of the season. But in the back of my head, I kept thinking, but you're going on holiday tomorrow. You're going on holiday tomorrow. Just let it go. Go on holiday, and we'll talk about it next year. So I felt sorry at the time, but Dawes has been golden.
I remember we played Reading at Stoke, the era where Rory Delap was pinging in throw-ins. We were all going forward, and I think it must have been the sort of 10th, 11th time where Hoof and Shawcross come up from the back. Joby back enough, do you remember him, right? He just turned to me and he went, we've grafted for 7, 8 years to get into the Premier League, and we're fucking doing this.
Crouch going for the spectacular. Oh, what a goal from Peter Crouch!
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
How is it for you when you see managers talking about goalkeepers, and maybe even pundits talking about goalkeepers?
To be fair, like, nobody really knows what it's like to be a goalie unless you are a goalie. And I'm sure up and down the country on a Saturday night, most goalies are watching going, you're an idiot, you're wrong. But you know what I mean? You've got to just take it with a pinch of salt.
What's the most insulting phrase a goalkeeper can hear from a commentator or pundit? My guess would be straight at him.
Yeah, a little routine, one of those routine saves. When it was a routine save for Foster or whoever it is. Like I say, you just got to. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Take it with a pinch of salt. I think the worst things you ever hear as a goalie is you know when like you're a young lad coming through Crouch and you're playing the reserves or something like that, and you might only have like 50 people at the game or 100 people at the game or something, and there will always be somebody that will stand behind the goal, especially just to get on the goalkeeper. They give you dog's abuse, honestly. Some of this, they'll bring your mum into it, your wife, your kids, your friggin' pets, anything, mate. They do not care. Just to put you off your game, they're horrible there.
What's the worst ground for you for abuse that you've received as a goalkeeper?
It was actually this season. It was away at Wolves. So obviously I used to play at West Brom. I was there for a long time. So West Brom and Wolves are like, that's their big derby. That's their big rival. So we're playing away at Wolves. We ended up losing the game 2-0, which I was absolutely gutted about. But I knew that I'm going to get dog's abuse from the Wolves fans. So I was in their main stand for the second half. They didn't sing about the game. They didn't sing about the Wolves. They didn't sing about anything other than Foster is a. That's all. That's all they sang, yeah? That's all they sang for the whole of the second half, right? 20 odd thousand people for 45 minutes, relentlessly, yeah? Like, you can even see it in their faces, like the snarl and stuff like that, and I'm still just smiling, going, it's only a game of football, like, you don't have to get that serious about it.
I always remember Ian Walker doing the old middle finger behind the back at the Rookery, and then us just going wild, like, hated him. Do you ever do any of that sort of shithouse behaviour?
You can't, mate, honestly, you can't nowadays, because everything's on camera, do you know what I mean? Even if you're fuming and you're seething and you want to do something, you can't do it because you know you're going to get caught.
We've got this amazing photo, I don't know if you've seen it got sent in to us, and it's from a lad called Niall.
Keno with the ice cream one, yeah.
I'm thinking we need to get this picture the recognition it deserves. So I've started following the National Gallery on Twitter, and what I just quickly want to throw out here on this podcast is an appeal for anyone who works at the National Gallery or some sort of proper art gallery.
Do you know I've been in the National Portrait Gallery? They asked me and said, we've got this image, would you mind if we put it up? And I was like, No. Why on earth would you want to do that? Anyway, I told my mum about it. She went and she took a picture of it.
Is it in oils or pastel? What's watercolours?
No, it's a picture of me in my training kit at Tottenham.
You got the Mona Lisa, then you got Crouch in his Tottenham.
I was in my Tottenham training kit. I wasn't even in my... It was a bizarre one, but they liked it and put it in there. My mum was never been so proud. She loved it. She's just taken all her friends up there, dog walking mates.
Hang on, I think I found it.
There you go. There you go. It's the snap.
You look really sad.
Hair's looking well though, mate.
It's decent, but it's no Roy Keane with
No. It's no Roy Keane with an ice cream.
Well, boys, have you seen the one we've been sent by Daniel Whiting on Twitter? After hearing about the Roy Keane photo, I once met Sam Allardyce mid-banana. Sam Allardyce in a pink shirt has a sort of expression on his face where it looks like he's seen into the future and seen the end of all mankind.
No, I feel like he's turned round and been caught like the flash straight away whilst eating a banana.
Didn't have chance. He had no chance to hide it or anything.
No, he's gone, I'm eating a banana.
Can you see this, Ben? I've got you in.
The banana is quite a bruised banana, isn't it? It's like, it's not a perfect banana by any means. It's sustained some damage halfway down the shaft.
They're the best flavour then. They're not too ripe. It's nice there.
It's like they've been caught in the act.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the act is.
Have a look at the background of this pic as well, boys. So there is some sort of expensive looking gold flock wallpaper in the background, and then what looks like an open chandelier with actual candles in. To me, that's not classic banana in hand territory.
I love this picture so much, and it's got a lot of love on social. I would love nothing more than when I go out on a bit of an exercise, maybe do a bike ride in Ben Foster's honour, just to see one window where there's Roy Keane eating an ice cream on the window. I really... it would make me smile so much.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Well, it's the time of the show where I tell you about another BBC podcast. Today is the turn of tailenders. Jimmy Anderson, Greg James, Felix White from the Maccabees, plus a guy who's very distantly related to Sachin Tendulkar called Matt. They're all there. Download it now from BBC Sounds.
Did you say a distant relative of Sachin Tendulkar called Matt?
Download the podcast now from BBC Sounds, Ben Foster, to find out more.
BBC Sounds, music, radio, podcasts. BBC Sounds, music, radio, podcasts.
Hi everyone, Will Carling here, ex-rugby player-ish, but more recently a figure of fascination due to Crouchy's obsession with my legs and what jeans I wear. I've never really been that interested in my legs, and I've never had a man interested in my legs either, but then looking at Crouchy's, I can understand he must be like that about quite a few people. Anyway, he's asked me to be his guest announcer, and I must warn you that there might be some naughty words and very possibly some adult themes. No long words, obviously, because it's Crouchy's podcast, and hopefully I will get to speak to him later.
Right, boys, we should crack on. Do you know where Batch is?
Where the hell's he gone? It's the man that makes it work.
Do you know about his rats?
What do you mean?
He's got pet rats.
Shut up.
Batch, get your rats out.
Get your rats out.
Have you got me now? Can you hear me now?
Get your rats out.
Here he is.
True. Yeah,
is it true, man?
Yeah, we do. We got rats. We got 5 of them.
Yeah,
Five rats.
Have they all got names?
I've had Rat Letizier.
Hold on
we got to talk about this.
We need this on.
Vera Coley.
Virat Kohli. Rat Letizier is a person. Crouchy P on the MIC. We're doing this just for free.
Do you give it the sniff test?
Peter, come do the quiz.
Feel a little bit like Dirty Dev.
You and your two silly little mates.
Silly little mates, just wrap it up.
Is it weird doing one of these whilst wearing clothes?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're cruising at 2,400 feet.
Let's free the ketchup.
So much to get off my chest.
And you've always had magnificent teeth.
How bad have things got?
It's going downhill now, isn't it?
The nation will be back stronger. Hello and welcome to another episode of That Peter Crouch podcast with me, Peter Crouch, Chris Stark and Tom Fordyce are joining me again. We're working from home. You right, boys?
Grace Crouchy, all good?
Yeah, it's okay.
Actually, you put on our little pod WhatsApp group a charming little video of you with your new puppy, Sonny Crouch.
Yeah.
How is the training going?
Sonny's not officially his name yet. We've got Elvis, Sonny, Jeffrey's been shouted. I'm trying my best to train him, and also the possibility of Crufts is obviously at the back of my mind. It's something that I've always wanted to try and achieve, and I believe that it's doable.
So it's a video that I'm assuming Abs took, and what you're doing, I don't really understand what it is you're trying to achieve by this, but you keep turning your back on the dog. Yeah,
this is something I've been reading up on. I've been told that once obviously they do something
and then continue
that
straight on,
with, or it's not right. If you turn your back on it and be disinterested,
go straight on.
Quite a good method of teaching the dog that you're not happy with its behaviour, and quite quickly, if you keep doing that, it will change.
This is your first go at management, then, really, isn't it?
I've gone down the Fabio Capello route. Discipline straight away. Lateness won't be tolerated. There's no flip-flops allowed. No phones at dinner.
Keep left,
and certainly no
and then exit
slippers.
left.
Most people have got a baby voice, haven't they? Which is a voice that they use to little ones, and it's usually
Exit
something
left.
like, "Hello, you're a lovely little thing, aren't you?" And people also have dog voices. Crouchy, can you give us a quick burst of your dog voice?
Here, boy. Here. Come on, boy. Sit. Stay. Good boy. How's that?
Why don't you pick Capello then, and from now on just embody him, so when you train him in your fine Italian voice.
Let's say you want him to fetch a stick.
Hey, Jeffrey, Mostico, Paco.
Let's say your dog has just shat it everywhere, right, all over your nice living room.
Whoa! No! Your shit everywhere. Mamma mia!
I'm sweating. That was so good. Good to hear Will Carling there as well.
Keep right.
So the plan for him is he's going to be back a bit later on to ask you a question.
I'm slightly concerned about Will's question. He looked like he had it in for me a little bit. And I hope there's no bad blood between me and Will, because I like him a lot, and I'm a big fan of his thighs, and maybe it's a hint of jealousy.
What shirt are you wearing today? That looks like an absolute beauty.
This is a beauty. This is another one I dug out along the lines of the Materazzi vibe. It's a Real Madrid goalkeeping shirt with short sleeves.
Casillas.
It's legit. It's got the name on the back. It's spelt right and everything.
Where do you stand on the short sleeve goalkeeper shirt, which is what we're seeing Crouchy model here?
Well, I just feel like he's a classy goalkeeper, isn't he? I imagine he's cat-like. I can't see him with too many scrapes.
So which game is this from?
Yeah, we got battered in the Bernabeu when I was at Tottenham, and I got sent off in that game.
It's almost a complete reverse this, Chris, of the Materazzi. So in this one, what I'm trying to piece together in my head is where you, Crouchy, have been in a position to ask for the shirt, because you've been sent off after 15 minutes. Casillas he's probably not seen you in the match.
Sometimes the kit man will come in with a load of shirts and go, look, these lads want to swap. Does anyone want to swap? That's why you don't remember how you acquired them, because I haven't actually spoke to Casillas and conversed with him about getting a shirt. The kit man's just come in and thrown one at me, and I've thrown one back at him.
It's like swap shop, isn't it, by the sounds of it? But like the ultimate swap shop. Whereas I did it with stickers, you're swapping a bale for a, but it's like next level swap shop.
We rate Casillas highly. When you look back, I don't think I appreciated this at the time, because I was probably a similar-ish age, but he was 19 when he won the Champions League. And now I think 19, as a goalkeeper, it's one thing if you're up front, but as a goalkeeper you carry so much responsibility.
What that shows is like the type of character he probably is. Like, for someone to play for Real Madrid at 19 is pretty nerve-wracking. I mean, what was I? I was 28 when I played at the Bernabeu, and I was that excited I got sent off. So, as a 19-year-old coming in and being a goalkeeper of Real Madrid and being captain and playing as many games as he did for such a big club, and then playing for Spain, captain in Spain, winning everything, he's obviously a top character as well as a top goalkeeper.
What about this message from Kian? Kian says, was Sergio Ramos a total shithouse?
I actually have a tremendous amount of respect for him, and he can be a tough obviously a tough character, and the amount of times he's been sent off is ridiculous. And
Go
Cardiff,
straight up.
But, look at what he's won and what he's achieved, and I don't mind people who do anything to win. And of course, there's a line. There's definitely a line, and he's crossed it numerous occasions. But he can be at times. That word that was mentioned there.
Why can't you say it? Why do you struggle? Because I don't think it's a derogatory word. I just think it's a description of character.
A shithouse. If I called you a shithouse, would you go, thanks for describing me? Like,
no, but I think you could be a world-class player and a shithouse. That's what I'm saying.
When I grew up, a shithouse was someone who jumped out of a tackle. Now that is not how I would describe Sergio Ramos. But recently I've seen shithousery to be described as someone who winds up another person in the opposition. And if that's the description, then of course, he would go by that description. But
that's honestly what I thought it was. So Tom, would you say the same, or do you think the term shithouse has changed over?
Go straight on.
I'm serious. How serious is this? You've just said a serious question now. Do you as if it was like a real intellectual word? You've got. Do you think the term shithouse has changed and evolved? Tom, over to you.
Let's get to the bottom of it then. Let me quickly Google, because it might be...
right. When I was a kid, someone who jumps out of a tackle, but as I understand the meaning of the word now, someone who winds up the opposition, someone that gets under the opposition's skin, and is seen as more of a positive thing.
There's also a third option here. I mean, if you describe someone as a shithouse, it also means they're massive. Is that specifically the brick sort of shithouse?
Yes.
So you have to specify. If you mean big, you have to precede the word shithouse with the word brick.
We need Susie Dent of Countdown just to go in depth into the word shithouse.
She's on Twitter, and she's really good to follow on Twitter. She tends to have words like the Japanese word for standing under a tree when the blossom is blowing in the wind. So it would be a departure, Chris, for her to put word for the day, noun, shithouse.
That's what needs to happen then. We need Dent to explain shithouse.
Do you think shithouse is one of those words that doesn't travel into other languages? So in the same way as there are types of cars, like brands of cars, like the Ford Wanker, it's too defined in Spain.
Exit
Ford
left.
Wanker.
Is there actually a Ford Wanker?
He fucking terrifies me. I've got to be honest. Like,
turn right.
I do not know
and
how
then
you
turn
shape
right
up for a game against someone like that.
He's not someone that would scare me, really. Yeah, he's hard, whatever. But I don't know. I'd rather play against him than say Keown.
What about centre back shithouses, Tom? Is he your favourite, or any others to throw in the mix?
Well, in that team, funny enough, you had a couple. You had Ramos next to Pepe, but certainly in terms of our old split crouch between Buffalo and Gazelle, have we got a pair of Buffaloes here, Pepe and Ramos?
Yeah, I think that's a double Buffalo combination.
Double Buffalo.
Yeah, I wouldn't relish that at all. Difficult. Both of them difficult, but
keep left,
listen, I'd still fancy
and then
my chances
continue straight on
against them. But I mean, good defenders, proper defenders.
Didn't Ramos come out with an amazing insult for Mourinho? You never see him in shorts. And what he meant by that was, he's never been a player.
Oh.
It was the sort of thing as, you don't see him in shorts because he's got the spindly, he may have the brain now of a foot manager, but he still has the quads and the calves of an interpreter.
Preaching to the choir here, I've got spindly, long interpreter legs myself, and I've played for 20 years.
I just feel a bit paranoid myself actually today, lads. I've got the because you were putting on a football shirt. I logged on to this thing earlier to start the podcast, and Tom was wearing a football shirt. So I very quickly had to grab a football shirt myself. But
yeah, can we explain your shirts, lads? So we've not explained the shirts, have we? So what are you sporting tonight, Chris?
The Eastleigh shirt. It's actually a beautiful kit. The problem is it's too tight. I've got tits.
You look like the fella on the mug.
The worrying thing about the footballers with tits thing is it's a wonderful portrayal of my own body. What about you, Tom? You're sporting yours. Yours looks beautiful.
So I'm wearing a River Plate home top, which is white, with I'm a huge fan of the diagonal chest stripe. Do I know any River Plate players in a way that you know Iker Casillas? No.
I just wondered about the story, as in, like, did you go to a game?
It's actually quite a charming story. I was on a website and it was on sale for $8.99.
Crouchy's done the robot again because it's 100 Premier League goals for Peter Crouch.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Okay, the nice thing about the Wednesday podcast is that we get stuck into your questions. So email us your best ones to
peter.crouch@bbc.co.uk.
There's some great ones coming in, like this one from Charlie. What was the first pre-2006 World Cup training session really like when Theo Walcott got called up?
It was weird because we took, I can't remember exactly how many, I think it might have been 30, to a pre-World Cup training camp in Portugal. And it was a weird one, so we all trained together.
Exit right, and then turn right.
And then, 8 players got cut. It was horrible, watching them have to leave, and then we all go to the World Cup.
Turn right.
And Jermaine Defoe obviously had to leave, and I just assumed that Theo Walcott was there for experience. I mean, it was obvious that he was going to be a huge talent. He just signed for Arsenal, and they've done it with lots of players over the years. I remember Rio Ferdinand, Steven Gerrard, Gareth Barry, because they were always going to be a part of the senior setup at some stage, and I just assumed that was the case with Walcott. And yeah, of course, he showed glimpses of what he could do. He was electric in training, loads of pace, but obviously still very raw.
He was a bit unlucky, Walcott, wasn't he? Because that was seen by a lot of people as a little warm-up for what he'd do next. And then Fabio ditches him before the 2010 World Cup. He gets injured in 2014, so that is likely to be his only World Cup experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, he'll have a lot of footage of it because, every time I saw him, he had a handheld camcorder walking around Baden-Baden taking in the sights. He took a lot of photos and he seemed to be enjoying it, and a fair play to him. We all tried to look after him as best we could. There was a big spotlight on him, and everyone assumed that it happened before with Michael Owen at 18, and
straight
we all
on.
know what happened there. He burst on the scene and was probably our best player at 98. I think we were looking for Theo to do a similar thing, but I don't think he ended up not playing a minute.
He's still the youngest player in English football history to score a hat-trick for England.
Yeah, listen, he was a very good player for England. He played a lot of games. Like you say, a hat-trick was away at Croatia as well, wasn't it? And I've played it away at Croatia. It's a difficult place to go. So, listen, he had a lot of talent, and I think sometimes we build up players so much when they're young, at 16,
Keep left,
Price
and then
came
exit
from Southampton, that we go, he's never really lived up to the hype. But if you think about, if he didn't have that hype, we'd look at his career and go, what an amazing career he's had. Arsenal,
exit
Everton,
left.
the amount of goals he's scored, for England, the amount of times he played for England. If we take those goggles off of what we thought he was going to be as a player, and we look at him as a player and as a career, what a fantastic career.
Crouchy, how was it taking Theo Walcott under your wing, and did he sort of adapt well?
I remember we were struggling at Southampton. Harry brought over 2 young kids from the youth team, and we were struggling. I think it was Klaus Lundekvarm, and I can't remember the other. I think it was a Swedish centre-half that we had. Anyway, these 2 young lads came over and started absolutely ripping our 2 centre-halves to shreds in 2v2, and it was embarrassing. They were making them, they were outpacing them, they were whipping balls in. It was like constant. It was attack me defence, but they were just constantly scoring goals, and Harry was fuming. He was constantly going, Klaus, what are you doing? These are kids. Pull your finger out, basically. And they were just literally chasing their own tails. And it was embarrassing. We all laughed, obviously, and then started caning them afterwards. And we didn't realise they were kids at the time, but it was Nathan Dyer and Theo Walcott. I mean, what chance have they got? I mean, they're ageing centre-halves.
Boys, we had a message from Andy. When Crouchy had just signed for Spurs, he came to the department store where I worked and bought a kettle. Some of the lads in the stock room were Arsenal fans and started kicking it round before I brought it out. I'd love to know if it actually worked.
All my kettles that I've purchased have worked, so I couldn't see any damage. The thought of someone kicking it around before I purchase it is it's slightly unnerving because you don't know what goes on behind the scenes, do you, before you make a purchase, and slightly disappointed in them.
This must happen a lot, though. It must happen. What was the Gary Neville story you were telling me?
Chris, this is an amazing story. So this was when Gary Neville had a swimming pool built. The two builders who were doing it were Liverpool fans. So they apparently buried a Liverpool scarf under the swimming pool at Neville's Bolton mansion. And then obviously stuck it all over Twitter.
Every time you're doing breaststroke and you look down, you just think they're bastards.
It must happen to so many footballers, especially when they're getting building work done. I'm sure of it. There'll be stories out there.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that's a good one to send the stories in, isn't it? Like, get your stories in about, you know, have you done work on a specific person's house?
We can let them know as well, because I reckon, like, the thing is with Gary Neville, he got told about it, but I reckon there's loads, and you can send them in. Like, if you've kind of wronged a footballer and have kept it private, let us know. We can break the news very gently to them on this podcast.
Very gently.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
You know, we were chatting earlier about you training the dog Crouchy. You been up to anything else this week?
I cooked this evening.
Did you?
Yeah, I went for it. Brought out a Jamaican cookbook called Flavour. I just had a go at it today. Curried, like, chicken it was. I just took the bull by the horns and I went for it, and actually came out okay.
Sometimes when you make these things, Chris, like, with the best of intentions, you pull the book off the shelf. You've not opened it since Christmas, whenever it was you got it. And there's always a point where you realise you don't have one particular ingredient. Like, it will say galangal or something, you think, don't actually have goat.
Yeah, no. Usually I do that, but I've learned my lesson on many occasions. I throw something else in. Like, there was a smoked goat in the recipe book there, and I was going to go for it actually, but I didn't have goat. Like, it's weird that you said that, because I didn't have it, and I thought,
who has goat in the house? Who's got goat in the back of the fridge?
Well, some people do, Tom. Like, some people who love, you know, there's enough goat recipes out there. But Crouchy, I'm sure ordinarily you have goat in the freezer, don't you? But you couldn't just lock down and all of that.
On this particular occasion, you know, I'm not queuing up for 3 hours for goat. There's things we need more.
Goat's one of those things that, as a man, when you go to the shops, you often go with strict instructions that you, like, get bread, get milk, get oranges, and sometimes you come back with goat and a keyboard.
Go straight on,
you know, mate,
and then turn left.
To me once, right? I think I was at Liverpool at the time. I was cruising. I went to
Turn left.
Sent me out for sausages.
Find a new route.
I came back out from the shop, got in the car, and we're driving along, and she's looking in the bag as we're driving. What's this? And I went, these are the best sausages, and, you know, these are the most expensive ones. These are, like, top notch. And she said, I just wanted normal sausages. And yeah, she's like banging on and on about these sausages and going like, they're the wrong ones, they're the wrong ones. So she got the sausages and wound down the window, just launched them out onto the side of the road. I watched probably, I don't know, half a pound of sausages just rolling down the road. No sausages tonight, darling.
All right, Crouchy, another email.
Love one.
This one is from Niall. It says, I met Roy Keane last year near a beach in Dublin and asked him if I could have a photo. He looked at me for ages before replying, what, when I'm eating a fucking ice cream? In fairness, he quickly turned for the photo and then disappeared eating the rest of his 99. What's better than this is he's actually included the photo.
That is amazing. He just does not want to be taking that photo one bit.
He looks like he wants to shove it up this bloke's face.
What's so good is our lad there smiling away in the photo like it's the best day ever. Why is Roy Keane eating an ice cream? There's just something very unusual about such a hard man enjoying something so soft.
His expression on his face, he looks so baffled.
What a snap.
Just show us Roy Keane's spare hand, so the hand that isn't gripping the ice cream, is it closed into a fist?
It is, yeah.
Look at that. Look at that. He's closed his non-ice cream hand into a fist.
You have arrived at your
destination. If he asks for one more
destination.
thing, he's just
Your
going to
route
get
guidance
smashed.
is now
I've not
finished.
seen a better photo than that. We'll put this photo out on socials, and we need the perfect caption that we can then enter it into a photography competition for. It needs to describe the value of the photo, why it's so special.